process change for you? You talked about hiring one person international, other people that are spread out across the country. How has that process of identifying but also screening people changed for you? And then also onboarding. Once you find that person, how do you build that camaraderie and that collaboration when you never see them in person?
So that part's more challenging. So let me answer that backwards. So the camaraderie and the culture, there's no substitute to in person here. Body language is 80% of communication, right? And so that's harder. That's where we either ask them to fly in if they feel comfortable. Right, this day and age, you can't ask someone to come to an in-person meeting, or companies are doing it, and that
you don't want to require it, though.
Right, and so that part's definitely challenging. We've done. At first, I thought it was kind of silly, but we did Zoom happy hours, right? Where
we've done that too.
Everyone gets their favorite beverage or what have you, and gets together
lunch or whatever,
or lunch or half an hour, just get on a Zoom with each other, and so at the beginning we did that. We're not doing it as much anymore, interesting enough. But so we try to do events like that initially. Now, for those that are comfortable, of course, and are in San Diego, we can meet for lunch, or we're still working virtual, but meet with those that are comfortable.
Sure.
But in regards to hiring them and vetting them out, if they're technical, it's actually easier because you see their work product.
That's true.
Right? So our CTO can see who's doing what, who's not, and it's really like you see the work product. When you
There's not as much gray area.
when you get to sales, obviously, a concern from before is you hire someone, in New York or Florida or elsewhere, and they're in sales, they could be doing. How do you know they're putting in their best efforts? How do you know they're not, working for you? But there's been articles now, people are doing double jobs, right? And so then they do that for 6 months until you figure out and fire them, and so there's always that challenge.
All that lost productivity at that point. You got all the lost time and.
Right, and that hasn't happened to us, by the way. The people that we've let go. It's only been one or two, but it was interesting enough. Not anyone in sales, but I think that's where you just have to drive accountability. So if our chief revenue officer wants to hire someone in Dallas and then in Oklahoma, which we've done now. His success is based on their success, he's going to be on them if they're inside sales, for example, to deliver, right? We have we just hired a director of clinical and regulatory to deal with our FDA clearance work and all that. As we're growing and need someone just dedicated 100% to that, and she's in Toronto.
Oh wow!
So she has San Diego ties. But before COVID, moved to Toronto because of her spouse's job, and so she's going to work for us remotely. And
that's great.
At some point, if she wants to be here, she's welcome. But she can do whatever she needs, and we can monitor it because there's no gray area really. So.
And it's nice, I think, also because it's, as we all have discussed in the past too, it allows you as a hiring manager, as the leader of a company, to now look at talent in places that you probably wouldn't have thought about, pre-COVID. And we're looking to hire another recruiter as well. And I've got my two lead candidates, one is in Denver and one is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, of all places. I never would have said, hey, I'm going to go find a great recruiter in South Dakota, right? But now, really, there's no barrier. There's no reason why you can't be there.
Zero. And in fact, I was on a virtual panel with the city of San Diego, and their EDC is of course, their whole premise is to create jobs and retain jobs in San Diego.
Right.
But one thing that came up was, well, we're San Diego companies hiring people elsewhere. You got to kind of change your thinking.
That's a great point.
Because these are companies that will be successful in San Diego. Those people, they might be in Charleston or Atlanta, but they're going to fly into Lindbergh Field for meetings. They're going to stay at the hotels here. Like it's still
creates
good.
Some revenue for the city.
And then on the other side, you have people that live in San Diego that are working in New York City or SF, right? And so that's allowing them to stay in San Diego instead of having to move to New York. So they're part of the tax base and spending money here and part of the community here. So I think it's important to not look at it as a zero-sum game of one person wins, one loses.
Either you're here or it's a loss.
Right.
I'm curious.